The 2022 May Conference. Bill Anderson. Pickleball. Build it, and they will come.
Without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Bill.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. Correction, I'm now the director of racket sports.
That's it.
The director of tennis thing is going bye-bye if anyone hasn't figured that out yet, okay? Have you changed that yet?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So I hope at the end of my presentation, eventually all of you will be directors of racket sports or head rackets professionals, stuff like that. So anyway, thanks, Ken, for having me today. I'm USPTA Southern. I live within walking distance here, so that's kind of nice. Although I was at work all morning, but I can go home really quick and check on my kids who are there by themselves right now. So that'll be good. So I titled my presentation, Build It and They Will Come. The reason I titled it that was, after being in Atlanta for 22 years and teaching, I think the pickleball program where I am now is probably the easiest program I've ever built. The simplest, easiest one to do. You know, spending a lot of time in Atlanta building junior programs and running a junior academy, then adult programs and men's programs and large ladies programs. This has just been, it was so easy. I kind of couldn't believe it and I almost wasn't ready for it. So my goal today is kind of put together and sort of give you some of the ingredients for success we found, or that I found here in talking to other people. I mean, every in-town club right now in Atlanta, just Ansley Golf Club, a big historic club, and Cherokee Town Club, and Capital City, pickleball at all those places has exploded. So this certainly isn't just me. And I know other clubs, and Ken's getting ready to build courts. We break ground Saturday at our club to build 4 hardcourt pickleball courts. What's unique to us is so far we only have 11 clay courts. So clay is not a limitation to playing pickle. We've played pickleball since 2020 during the pandemic with only clay courts, and thank goodness we're actually getting hard courts, okay? You want to play on a hard court, I'm going to put that out there, but it can be done on clay. If you have any questions about that, you can certainly let me know. It's just a certain type of ball. You know, it's not ideal, but you can make it happen. Okay, so what we've done is, at our club so far, and I'll talk about our program and how we stepped into it, is within a year we have as many pickleball players as we have adult tennis players. All right, and at our club we do 32,000 touches a year on 11 courts. So we're extremely busy. And we have our ladies program alone, just in weekdays, has 325 people in it. All right, 17 Thursday ladies teams, weekday ladies teams. So to have as many pickle players as we have adult tennis players was kind of shocking, but it was also great when I went to our board and wanted to ask for courts. Okay, so we could really put that together. So I have a couple questions first of everybody here, just so I kind of get a read of the room. Who here has played pickleball? Who plays regularly? It's weekly, I would say, soon. Not too many hands there. Who's certified? All right. Small number. Who's doing the Sunday certification? Good. Highly recommended. You should certainly do it. So I did IPTPA. Ken, when were we in Raleigh? Was that 19 or 18?
I think it was 19.
19. Summer of 19. I'd never played pickleball before. I'd seen it on YouTube on the plane as I was going to Raleigh to see what it was all about. And I did the IPTPA certification there. We had, I think it's like 28 or 30 people that did it at that time. It was a great group of people. And I wouldn't say I fell in love right there, but I did kind of get addicted by doing that certification because it was about 2 hours of play that we got to do there too. And it was really, really interesting. So I've done IPTPA. 2 years later, I've done PPR and done that certification. They were both excellent. We had Sarah Ansberry who did the PPR. She's played in the U.S. Open and everything else. She's down in Palmetto Bluff. It sort of runs everything PPR. But IPTPA was great. I loved it. I really didn't get a chance to play because we had clay courts at the time. Okay, so I think it's highly recommended. Do it. Watch it on television. If you don't play regularly, do it. Imagine a racket sport you can play for 3 hours and walk. All right, I can't do that right now. If I played a 3-hour tennis match, you would be carrying me off the court the whole time. All right. Here's my last question, because this is sort of about building a program. This is sort of what we're talking about. Who here, if you haven't played that much, I doubt you're very passionate about pickleball. Who in here is really passionate about pickleball? Exactly. All right. So here's my first word of advice. If if there's nobody on your staff, including yourself, that's not passionate about it, don't do it. Don't do it. Do not build a program that could really make you a lot of money if you are not passionate about it. Here's what I did. I played for probably 9 months before I ever started a program. So I got certified in 2019. Obviously, everybody knows what happened in early 2020. And everyone started playing pickleball. We had people calling me from our club and said, hey, we played in our driveway so we can get out and do something. Our courts were shut down for about 5 weeks. But if you're not passionate about it, I don't recommend going full bore. Yes?
Can you get, could I pass the certification if I played like 5 times? And
yes.
So should I go do that so I have it and then?
I highly recommend it.
Then I just have to start playing more before I could teach it.
That's
right?
what I did. That's what I recommend without a doubt. So when I went to Raleigh, I had never played. Never even held a pickleball paddle. And I went up and I was like, I'm a decent tennis player. I think I'll be okay. But I'd studied the rules, studied the handbook, and you study and you learn all the rules and things like that. I certainly highly recommend it. You do not have to play before you do it. I think they say you should play, what is it, 5-10 hours, something like that. But if you play tennis every right and you're a racket sports person, I think you can do it without a doubt. He's the guy to ask after this because he's the one doing the certification.
Okay, but then I need to study between now and Sunday, right?
That's for him as soon as we get done. Daryl Lewis is your guy doing it. He's running all that. So any question you have about that, that'll be it. Without it, I highly recommend getting certified. It was an awesome learning experience. And then I played a lot after that. All right, so something I want to ask everyone is, why do you think pickleball is so popular? What are all the things you've heard of why it's so popular? Ken?
It's easy to pick up and play.
Easy to pick up and play.
Very social.
It's very social.
Social.
You don't have to have good technique.
There's not a lot of technique involved. I totally agree. Anything else?
Court's 44 feet, much smaller.
Court smaller. Yeah. Yes.
You don't have to be really good at it like you do in tennis to have fun.
Agreed. Don't have to be in excellent shape, although I recommend you are. There's a lot of injuries, believe it or not, quads, Achilles, things like that if you're not in shape. So you'll need to teach people how to move correctly. Here's my thought. Every tennis person is going to hate this, but pickleball is now the sport for a lifetime. I expected that response. I never thought I would say it. But here's what I see. If you've seen how physical tennis has become over the years, I mean, it is an incredibly physical sport now. Listen, we're hosting the Atlanta Senior Invitational National Men's Tournament in Atlanta right now. Our club's a host site. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 days. And there's 75-year-old guys who are unbelievable players who represent the U.S. in their age group. And there's not a stroke that you would recognize. If you were 20 right now, you would be like, what are those strokes going on right now? Tennis is a different game. Now, believe me, I hope I still play it when I'm 75 and 80. I really do. But I know right now I can probably play pickleball when I'm 80. I really do feel like I could. Listen, I love tennis. I'm a diehard. I still play tennis all the time. I love it. I teach it. That's why I got into this and play college tennis, and I love it. But pickleball, I think, is if it hasn't yet, is overtaking tennis as that's the sport for a lifetime. All the reasons you just said. Imagine stepping on a tennis court and be like, it's easy to play, and you don't have to have great technique. It's just not there. Okay, it's like adult ping pong to me, pickleball. All right. Now I hope that I'm wrong eventually, but tennis is such a physical game, and the way everyone swings now with heavy top spin and off your back foot and open stances and all that bashing and hard serves, it's not that easy to play anymore all the way into your 70s and 80s. Okay, so pickleball is kind of becoming that. I hope it never replaces tennis, but I do think it's going to become that sort of sport for a lifetime that we're looking at. Okay, so don't tell anybody I said that. We'll strike it off the record, but that's what I truly think. Okay, so here's some of the things. Sorry, I'm going to hold this. I've got my notes here. So here's just my recommendations if you want to start a program. You already heard. Find somebody that's passionate. I got lucky. I got passionate about it. One of the pros I hired came down from the Washington, D.C. area 4 years ago. Had been playing already for 3 years because his club had it. He loves playing. We're both playing the Atlanta Open Pickleball Tournament next weekend. So I got lucky to have someone that's passionate, I could learn from, and then I went after it really hard. And we started a great program. But my first word of advice, don't dabble. Don't go, you know what, I think maybe I should have some event, maybe next month, some pickleball event where I just ask people to come out and we just sort of play and, maybe they just have fun. All right? Because if you don't show passion, I don't see it taking off how it could be. And the goal is to have the most successful program possible. Don't dabble. Now, I think you should have a 3-month plan, a 6-month plan, and a plan for a year. What we did is, in 2020 during the pandemic, we finally got back on the courts. All these people were calling us saying they've been playing pickleball at their mountain homes or at their houses in Florida, which was open at the time. So we said, man, we love pickleball. We've been playing some now. We're certified. Let's see what we have. We did a 3-month program from August until Thanksgiving, essentially. And all we did were something called Dinks and Drinks. All right, I did not make up that name. It's the best thing I've ever heard for anything that has to do with racket sports. All right, but Dinks and Drinks, we said, you know what? We've played. We know how to play. We know the rules. We've been certified. We're going to have every other Friday a pickleball event called Dinks and Drinks at our club. We talk to our bartenders. We make sure we have a bar on court because it is extremely social. We play music. Let's see how many we get. And we had 480 touches in 2 months, 4 events. And because people said, "Oh, can I come play on Saturday now? I did your event on Friday. We want to play on Saturday." And the answer is always yes. When you're trying to build a program, the answer is yes. So we worked it out. We went after it, and that's how we started our program. But we busted in, said we're going to have this every other week, and we're going to do it for 2 months, and then we're going to evaluate. What's our feedback? Do people love it? How did we react to it? How did everything go when we were there? You know, what can we take for the pluses? How can we make the events better? But starting those events, and we were amazed at how many people had played pickleball for probably a year or so. It was crazy. We were like, oh my gosh, I mean, all these people have been playing. We never knew because we didn't have courts. We only had clay. We just never knew they were doing it. Okay, so don't dabble at all. Okay? The other thing I would do about looking at your monthly schedule, the first step is you have to analyze your tennis program first. All right, we had to look at our program. These are the steps we took. We looked at our whole program before we put anything out. We had 6 full-time professionals. We have 32,000 touches a year. We have junior programs, morning programs. When can we have pickleball? When is that going to happen? Who's going to do it? The right personnel is really, really important. And when can we have it? At our club, it was 6:30 to 8 at night. That was the only time we could have pickleball. We had no courts available the rest of the time. Weekends, maybe Saturday 1 o'clock, maybe Sunday at 4 o'clock. That's the limited time we had. But you have to analyze that entire program. You do not want pickleball to come in right away and overtake or move or displace any tennis program that you have. You should always be looking at it as this is an addition to what we already have and an extra racket sport for us to have. That's your first step. When I talk about picking the right personnel, that's where the passionate stuff comes in, or skilled. Okay? Somebody has great skills and has been teaching tennis for a while. It's a very easy transition to go in to teach pickleball. Daryl Lewis's presentation on Saturday, which is crossover drills from tennis to pickleball, did a similar one in Nashville last summer, and it's great. You could literally take 3/4 of the tennis drills you do now for doubles and throw it into pickleball. So if you've been teaching for a number of years, you're going to have that wherewithal to be able to put it in place right away and go after it. But if your personnel isn't passionate about it and is just out there sort of hanging and letting people play, you know, it's not going to be the most successful program that you can have by any means. Third, get the right equipment. All right, we were not prepared. I ordered 5 nets, and a month later I ordered 5 more, and then a month later I ordered 2 more. Okay, we are on clay, so we have to put courts together, portable nets together all the time. If you ever need to know how to do it, I'm like an F1 like mechanic, putting together a pickleball net. Right, but get the right equipment. We ordered 100 balls off of pickleballcentral.com, a certain ball for clay. We had a box of 100 balls. We had 30 demos. We called Wilson, we called Head, all the people we already had. How many demos do you have? Because people can come out and they don't have anything. There's starter kits all over. Pickleball Central is what I use. Is there another website you use?
I've just gone through Wilson and Fromouth
Yeah, we use Pickleball Central for a lot of things. But make sure you have demos. Make sure you have the proper equipment. You know, the nets, they only last about 6 months if you use them a lot. They're $160. All right, so you will probably get your money back from them. And then as you get better and better, you can upgrade that equipment. But have those 3 things in place, okay? What times are you going to offer that's not going to take over tennis? The right personnel, the right equipment. That's a start. Before you ever put out what kind of program you're going to have, okay? Now, I was just going to go over sort of some of the model we used, and I know it may not work everywhere, but this is what we did. And this is how you don't dabble, okay? We sat down and we said, we've got 6:30 to 8 p.m. open every night but one, and we have a little bit of time on Sunday where we had a manager on duty who had played pickleball and was experienced in pickleball and certified. So we did a men's night, we did a ladies' night, we did an intro night, we did our Dinks and Drinks event, and then we did an advanced night. That's all we did. It's nothing different than you'd probably do in some of your tennis drills. But we said, this is our program, here's who's going to teach it, here's the format of it. We had all that set up. We went full bore. We went 5 nights a week into pickleball. We still did our Dinks and Drinks every other Friday. and we had 2 pros. I was there for the first 2 months at every single one we did. It's all group lessons. All right, so we had an 8-to-1 ratio every single time. But I encourage you, if you can't go 5 nights, that's fine. But at least go 2. Do it for at least 3 months. Commit to it for 3 months. Do 2 nights a week. Just simply do beginner and advanced. And if you're thinking about doing a program, we sort of came down to our beginners. The way we evaluate beginners was if you played less than 5 times and you weren't sure about every rule. That's simple. You're a beginner. That's it. For advanced, you played more than 10 times, you know the rules, and you can rally 10 balls in a point. All right? That's simple. That's how we sort of delineate who's who in that realm. But at least do 2. Commit to 3 months. Build it up. Have somebody there that's passionate, and go along with it. Now, when I say group lessons, we sort of call it academy style at our club. Okay? There's been times we've had a 12-to-1 ratio for your advanced clinics. This is why pickleball, to me, I hate to always say it about revenue because I'm passionate about it, but it's the easiest money we've ever made on a tennis court. All right, just imagine at our club we charge $110 per hour for a group lesson, 4 people. All right, we have pickleball, and we do an 8-to-1 ratio most of the time, even a 12-to-1 with advanced. We charge everybody $25 to be on the court. It fills up every time, so you can do the math. All right, every pro makes their percentage of 200 rather than 110. If they have 12 people, just keep doing the math. Our Dinks and Drinks events, we started averaging about 38 people every Friday night, all the way up to 52. You only need 1 person to run that event. All right, I go there. I don't take any payment from the event because it's part of my job to be there. All right, and I roam and I help do it. All you're doing is going up the river, down the river, winners up, losers down, whatever you guys call it. Sometimes we just throw people in. We have a bar on the court too. So I have a pro right now we have a director of pickleball under me. He's our head rackets professional. He runs all the pickleball stuff. Right now, he'll go out. We'll charge $25 a person. If we have 50 people, it's $1,000, right? Anyway, he goes away with his percentage of $1,000 for 3 hours of work. Okay, if you are somebody that's an independent pro or somebody that does this on your own, what a lot of public parks will do, and they do this at Sandy Springs Tennis Center, which is right down the road, and I've played in it. They say, hey, come out. They have 8 pickleball courts. That's obviously 32 people you can fit on there. Charge $10 a piece. They have 1 guy running a round robin for 2 hours, and they turn that 2 hours over every 2 hours. So essentially, do the math. If he makes 50% of that, right, he's making It's $320 for 2 hours of roaming and giving people some little cues on what to do, and he's getting his percentage off of that for walking around for 6. Imagine doing that for 6 hours. What the pay is going to be. So I encourage you to do group lessons. To give you an example of how important I think group lessons are, I did my first private lesson last Tuesday. The first private lesson I've ever done in pickleball was last Tuesday, and that was a favor to one of our members who was going out of town for a few weeks to Europe, and they knew they were going to play a lot of pickleball, and she just wanted to be sure she knew the rules and everything else, and it was kind of a fun thing. All right. So far at our club, I think my director of pickleball has done less than 10 private lessons. It's just not the way. When you build your program, build it around group lessons. Make people know that that's how it should be, and frankly, that's how I think it should be. Okay, it's very, very easy for everyone to go out there and start learning the strokes that we do. So I encourage you to go that route. Preach it that group lessons are best. They are the best, in my opinion. Keep it going that way, and just rake in the money. Do events. Events is what drives everything. When you can have these little pickleball socials. Has anyone? How many people here from Atlanta? Anybody going to the Alta social? None of the pros are. Are you going to it?
Tomorrow night.
You going to it tomorrow night? Yeah. So Alta. Everybody know what Alta is? Atlanta. Anyways, we get to tout. It's like second largest league in the world. Okay, here in Atlanta. Well, Alta's looking to get into pickleball, and they had all of us in a meeting, and we were talking about different things to do. And they're now doing an Alta pickleball social at 3 different facilities not too far from here. It's sold out. You can't get in anywhere. All right, I was going to do it for fun. I can't get in it. You can't get in it. That's 3 different sites. They're doing pickleball socials. I don't know how much money they're going to make off of that. All right, but they're going to keep looking into it more and more, and that's going to happen more in Atlanta. That's just how the Atlanta Open next weekend. There's 1,196 players signed up at 3 sites in Atlanta for the Pickleball Open next weekend. It's just incredible how much the sport has grown and grown and grown. All right, so talked about beginners. Advances, drives, everything. All right, I want to show you sort of evolution here. I want to kind of go through what our lessons look like, what our group lessons look like for beginners. Your program will evolve very, very fast. All right? Pickleball is not something where you need to, it's not tennis where you're going to spend 2 years doing essentially beginner type lessons. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Okay, I can go out there, I can start hitting the ball underhand, pretty simple. My kid, when he was 9, he's not a racket sports kid yet. You know, we went out, I bought pickleball paddles, or Wilson gave them to me, I should say. I go out to my neighborhood, and he's 9 with no racket skills, and we're having 20-ball rallies. All right, that's why pickleball is so popular. It just is. All right, so a beginner lesson for us right now with adults is the first lesson we have. By the way, don't talk about the score. Don't talk about the score in the first lesson, please. Daryl, I hope you're not going to contradict me on Saturday, but do not talk about the score. That's the biggest pain in the rear end for pickleball when people are just starting out. Don't worry about it. Don't do it. But this is what we do. So, lesson 1. This is academy style. Remember, we're trying to have 4 people per court. If you have 2 on a court, they can do this stuff too. But all we're doing is talking about technique in the very first lesson they come to. And we do it in this order: dink, serve, return, volley. All right? So this is as simple as our lesson is. They're in a group lesson. Every twosome has a ball. They stand right behind the non-volley zone. By the way, if you take the test, it's not called the kitchen. It's the non-volley zone, everyone, okay? And we literally have them stand there and just do this. And they try to dink within the 7-foot window. That's all you're doing. And then they dink down the line, then they dink cross court. We spend probably 10 minutes doing that, and then everybody's like, okay, I kind of got that down. Okay? We dink. Then we talk about the serve. There are certain rules about the serve. I'm not going to go over here. That's why you'll see on Saturday, and probably if you get certified, you'll definitely see it. But then we just have them serve back and forth. Hey, let's serve back and forth. Let's serve cross court. We'll talk about technique, how to get it in. We may not even go over the specific rule of serve unless somebody's really doing it wrong. Okay? Then we start going with returns. Where can you return? What's the best return? How hard do you need to hit it? Simple things like that. Technique, how to step in, how to use your body, all that good jazz. And then we go to volleys. Same thing. Stand behind the kitchen line. Let's just try to volley back and forth. We do those for about 10 minutes each. These are hour-long clinics. And then we play. So the beautiful thing about pickleball is the first lesson they come to, they should actually try to play points, and probably can play. It may only be 3 or 4 shots. They play right away. That's why pickleball is so much fun. You play right away. So in the very first lesson, when they come out, and we have ladies that have 0 racket skills. They come to these, and by the end of that first lesson, they can play. And then you know what we do? After an hour, we keep the court set up for a half hour, and we say, ladies, just go at it. Go play. Okay, that's lesson 1. Lesson 2 is the same as lesson 1, but shorter time frames. So we'll spend 5 minutes per stroke, play the rest of the time. So you're playing for 30 minutes, and obviously we're roaming, just like we would in academy style. We're roaming. We're still giving little tips on technique as we do it, but we're having them play. And notice, we haven't talked about one rule yet. We'll tell them, hey, yeah, serve it cross court. That's the only rule. All right? That's it. Don't step inside don't step inside the non-volley zone if you don't have to. Little things like that. We're not going over all the rules yet. We're not even keeping score. Hey, you serve 5 times, she serves 5 times, 5 times, 5 times. Keep going around. It's the same thing again. Okay? Lesson 3 is when we start talking about rules. So now they've played. You've probably dabbled in the rules a little bit in the first couple by where to serve it. Hey, let's try to do this a little better. So we'll talk about rules for about 10 minutes. All right? There's really 3 or 4 basic rules everybody needs to know before they play. Okay? So you start going over rules, and then guess what they do? They just play. The third lesson is all play, abiding by the rules. All right? So now you're really getting into, they've done essentially almost all the strokes and everything else. Now they're rules-based. Lesson 4 for us is when we start adding in a couple other shots. So we work on how to drive a ball, lob. We go over the rules one more time, and play. All right? So there's not really a whole lot more strokes than what we've already talked about just now. When you add in how to drive a ball, hit it hard, and then throwing the lob in the air and getting that. Okay? Lesson 5, which is, by the way, our last lesson in this sort of beginner sort of thing, is drives, lobs, play the rest of the time. That's it. That's a beginner program for us. And what we see is once everyone goes through sort of these 5 steps, and they get done with those 5 steps, they know what every stroke should look like, because we worked on technique hard for the first 2 lessons. drives and lobs we've worked on for 2 lessons going after. And they've played in every single lesson. So by the time they've done this, they've probably got at least 2 hours of play under their belt. And maybe an hour, hour and a half of play with the rules involved under their belt. Once they do this, they can come to a Dinks and Drinks event and be just fine. They might get beat a little bit, but you start doing up the river, down the river, and it sort of washes out. They're done. That's it. So you do not need to have beginner clinics. You're not going to have beginner clinics where people play 2.5 for a year, and then they play 3.0 for a year like they do tennis, or 2 years before they advance to 3.5. All right? You will have people that have never picked up a paddle, start playing, and then they're intermediate in 3 months. Because intermediate essentially is, all right, I know the rules. I may not be able to rally a lot, but I know the rules and I can sort of hit most of the strokes. That's it. So they're ready for more events. So that's when you add in your intermediate sort of thing once you build that lesson up. Okay? So that's the process. And you keep cycling those people through all the time. Okay? So you're not going to see the same people over and over like tennis. They're going to want to graduate to events earlier. So you need to have a robust events idea going forward. Right now in Atlanta, we've started interclub matches with the other clubs to build on the Dinks and Drinks. Dinks and Drinks will never go away. That's the easiest thing in the world. Anybody can come to it. It will be a massive success if you're out there, you're promoting it, and you're in with them. We spend Dinks and Drinks time talking about technique with people a lot. But we're just roaming, cheersing people and everything else, and talking about, hey, yeah, you probably could have done that a little better. All right? They pay $25. We'll give them a little piece of our time, but keep thinking what events you can have. Level-based events are so easy. Hey, we're going to have intermediate. Intermediate's going to come for the first hour. Advance is going to come the second hour, and then we're all going to play afterwards. And we're going to have drinks and do everything else. Okay? The other thing is, it's not an intimidating sport. It really isn't. Like, I can stand across from a female player, and I guarantee she's not intimidated. Angela Owens, one here, she played tennis at Georgia. She's an incredible pickleball player, and she hit me 4 times the first time we played, and I loved every second of it. Okay, but that's great. We have all the people at our club that come and play. Our Dinks and Drinks, by the way, 90% of the people it's date night. It's a fun thing to do because we have a saying at our club that you can please take to your club. We say pickleball's so easy a golfer can do it. All right, that's our saying at our club, just to mess with all the golfers. But 60% of the people that were coming to our Dinks and Drinks were husbands of tennis players, and some of them can't walk and chew gum. No lie. But they will come out and they will have the time of their lives for 2 hours doing a Dinks and Drinks event, playing pickleball with their wives, joking around and talking trash with their other buddies that that they hang out with on the golf course, and it is a great time. And believe it or not, they play a couple times, and those guys, the women and the men are already out there, and they know how well they can play. And then you get to know it is, and then you can sort of start events in the right manner where you sort of separate levels, but then they sort of mesh in the middle. All right, but it's so much fun watching them play, without a doubt. So one thing I want to make clear: they pay the same you charge the same for a pickleball lesson that you do for a tennis lesson. It's not a lesser sport; it's just another sport. All right, and that's something that was said to me early on. But if we charge $110 for a group lesson, 2 or more people, it's $110 for a pickleball lesson. There's no delineation there. It is an important thing. Like I said, in a year we have as many pickle players as we have adult tennis players. I never believed I would say that. First of all, I never believed I'd be giving a pickleball, presentation at a USPTA conference. But I'm really glad I am. For us, it has become a huge thing, and we have embraced it. I challenge you to embrace it. We have done everything we can so it has the most minimal impact on our tennis program as possible. It's funny that I say that, considering we're losing a tennis court to build 4 hardcore pickleball courts starting Saturday. All right, we tried every way to not do that. We tried every way to put it in our parking lot. But if you've ever been to Atlanta and you've been near Buckhead, land's at a premium. Okay, so we lost the tennis court. We found out the way to have the most minimal impact on our programs. But we've got 500 people that we have to think about that we're going to have. I can't imagine Sandy Springs Tennis Center is around here. I think they're actually going to start building 8 more to have 16, and they're building a bar and now a place to eat, which they've never had in their whole existence in Atlanta over 40 years, I bet, based around pickleball. All right? It's not going anywhere. It's only getting stronger. I had one of my tennis committee members, quick story, who's an absolute tennis purist, bless you. He played tennis at Navy. The guy landed fighter jets on aircraft carriers. He doesn't play golf. He's just a tennis guy. He plays tournaments around the country, and he's my tennis committee chair. And I never thought I'd see the day he would approve and make a recommendation for us to lose a tennis court to put in pickleball courts. But I sat in front of him and said, this is how many players we have right now at the club. We have probably another 100 that don't play here because we only have clay courts. We did this amount of revenue with only an hour and a half, 4 nights a week available for them to play, and maybe 3.5 hours each weekend day that they could play. Just imagine what we can do if you can play 12 hours a day. And he sat down, he goes, are these true numbers, or are you just trying to get this passed? Which is what every committee chair says. You're just trying to get this passed. What's going on? And I did the printout, showed him how many people we'd billed, how much revenue we'd made. And it wasn't even, for us, listen, we lose at everything. Everything's an amenity at our club. We're a member-owned club. But it's like, well, what's your return on investment for building these pickleball courts? And when we looked at that, which I hate looking at that since everything's an amenity, when we looked at it, it was kind of like, you know, in about 3 years, it'll probably be paid for. It's just one tennis court size has 4 pickleball courts on it. Okay? So I encourage you to do it without a doubt. Our advanced program now, before I open it up to questions, we did an interclub with Cherokee Town Club, Ansley, and one other club in town. And we sent 6 guys over there. 4 of the guys, 2 of them were national championship tennis players at Georgia. They won the NCAA as a team competition. One was one of the winningest players in Vanderbilt history called Crunch Clover Dance. The other one was Jason Smith, who played tennis at Purdue and has won about 4 or 5 pickleball tournaments now that he's played. Those are our top 4 guys. So our guys that probably don't want to play tennis anymore because they feel like maybe I can't compete because I was a national champion, they all play pickleball. 4 days a week. They hounded me like no other. They're the ones sending emails to our governing board to get these things passed. So from your beginners all the way up are going to want to play pickleball. It's going to happen. It's going to be there. Build the program, but be passionate about it every chance you go. The last thing we did is we started junior pickleball. So now at the private schools in Atlanta, guess what they do in recess and in PE? They play pickleball. They started playing pickleball. So we said, we better get on the front of that. So Monday nights before our men's night, junior pickleball. First junior pickleball event we did, 32 kids. The first event we had, we were expecting 12, and we had 32. We went, wow, we better get on top of this. Now it ebbs and flows like every junior program, but we haven't gone full bore like we want to into junior because we're trying to find places for them right now. You know, it's like, man, we only have enough staff that want to be there every Friday night, you know, till 8 p.m. But that's something that's coming down the pipeline. I want to say this: Jarrett Chirico, who does a lot of pickleball stuff across the country, stated this, and I've heard it from numerous places now, but the trend might be where pickleball is the introductory racket sport for young kids 4 to 6 years old. We're going to actually experiment with that pretty soon. At our club, we're not going to use the wiffle balls though. We're going to try a little experimental group in the fall where you use a pickleball paddle with a red dot ball. And we're going to go out there and we're going to play. And I think that, hey, the racket skills you can do, the rallying you can do, all those different things are super, super, super important. And I think kids' success and having that fun, being able to do that, is probably going to rise having a paddle in their hand over a racket. Okay? Again, never thought I would say that, but I'm glad I am. But that's something to look down the pipeline, that if you're big in the junior arena and you have 4 to 6 year olds that you're trying to build that program, I would really urge you to try to get a red dot ball and some pickleball paddles. You know, they make these real inexpensive little wooden paddles, like a starter kit you can get on Pickleball Central, and go out there and have them start batting that ball around and getting hand-eye skills going, and just rallying in general. I mean, just imagine the touch you can get from using a paddle over a racket. All right. Another thing that's going to happen: your tennis players are going to go, it's going to screw up a tennis game. BS. It is absolutely BS. I've been playing pickle now. I mean, I play every Friday night for about 2.5 hours. Try to play more when I can. I've been playing for a little bit over a year, and the only thing I've found is that my reaction time and catching the ball earlier with my eyes has only improved over time. So my net game, my touch, which I live and die by, but touch game, it has all improved. I haven't found myself standing like this, like you do in pickleball, sitting there hitting balls. If you play racket sports long enough, that's not going to happen. So it's only going to improve what you do. So I encourage you to think about experimenting with the kids doing it. I'm hoping that we're sort of the launch pad for at least trying it and experimenting with it and talking about how to do it and evaluating how it goes along. We're going to keep our kids' tennis programs, but we're going to add in this other, this entry level. We call it athletic building or athletic training, our 4 to 6 year olds, but we're going to do it with pickleball paddles with a certain group for free, and we're going to sort of track it and sort of see how it goes and see how we enter them into that sort of arena, as we go. Another thing that's great about having all these events is FaceTime in front of people you normally wouldn't see. Like I said, 60% of the people coming to Dinks and Drinks were people I'd never met. Because usually when I go to a new member orientation, I usually look at all the gentlemen in the room and I go, so where are the fences down near the 11 tee box? That's usually how I introduce who I am. Because, wait, we're down there at the 11 tee box. That's us. They never come down to tennis. Now, I found that I get to talk to many, many new members that I would never see. A lot of people that have been there for 20 years that have never stepped foot on our tennis courts. And now they get to know me. They get to see our programs. I get to engage with them. And what they thought was always a nuisance and just for ladies, all right, is now, man, I can't wait to go there next Friday night. And they'll come by our shop and even walk into our tennis shop and say, hey, how you doing? And it's an incredible thing for a tennis pro to get to know more people at the club that are outside of their usual realm. Is super, super important for longevity, just to meet new people. It also is sort of a refresher for you as you're there, right? Because, I mean, listen, I love seeing the same people all the time and seeing them grow, but it's sometimes nice to get some new blood in there, okay, to work with new people. This is your opportunity to do it, right? That is the end of my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Yes, Tom?
Two of them.
Sure.
Dinks and Drinks. If you get some individuals that come and may have a little problem scoring, what do you do when you got 50 people?
Yeah, no problem. We always find one person on the court that knows how to score. There's usually always one, and I will do this. I will walk up and go, hey, they've played this bin a number of times. If you have any questions, just ask them. But we are constantly roaming, and we sort of have it in your head who those people are, and you try to hover a little bit more. But usually there's one person there that knows what they're doing. And you know what's funny? If all 4 of them don't know, we don't even worry about it. Play, and when we call time, just somebody rotate out. That's what we'll do. Second question.
Juniors. You said you did them on Monday nights. Is that what you said you were doing? Did you separate age levels?
No.
An 18 and a 12-year-old?
Well, when they got there, we did, certainly, without a doubt. But our first junior night was, hey, come on out. Let's see how many show up. It's kind of a pilot program. We'll do it for 6 weeks. Let's see what happens. So we said, hey, come on out. We ended up, believe it or not, our biggest group was 13 and 14-year-olds, which was very surprising to me. I thought it'd be, sort of your a little bit younger, 5th, 6th grade. Once they got there, they all brought their friends. Then we sort of separated them once we got there. But I can tell you, we did have some 10-year-olds mingling, 10-year-olds with kind of good skills mingling with the 13 to 14-year-olds, which actually was really fun to see because it just doesn't happen in tennis. Rare, so it was really fun to sort of have that transition happen where, oh man, I can play here and I can play there, and everybody was having a really good time. It was a lot of fun. Yes, sir.
So as you were introducing your Dinks and Drinks and the other programs, did you bring out just a bunch of demo paddles? And then, if so, how did you convert that into sales, or did people just keep demoing?
They demoed for a hell of a long time. So we went in, actually, we went in with Wilson, and we went on the head, who we use a lot at our club. And Wilson, I'm on the Wilson, I guess it's Pickleball Pro Team now, as everyone else is, okay? And we had 30 demos at one time. Now, we started out with 16, and then we had our first Dinks and Drink, and we pulled 16 off the wall. And so put them into that funnel thing. So we did. We came out with about 30 demos. I would say that first one we had, where we had I think about 28 people. The first one we ever did, and I think 4 had paddles, which but we had 10 nets that we had 5 nets, so we had to do a little engineering and rush ordered 5 more. But we have turned it into stuff. So what we did is we played for about 6 months where people could use our demos all the time. I mean, every clinic they used them, and demos get beat up pretty good. And we just sent a quick email out after 6 months and said, hey, we're having all these wonderful peachy things about pickleball, and said we're reducing our demo inventory to 8. For reference, we average around 38 people per Dinks and Drinks night. So if you don't have a paddle, we're happy to help you. Please come into the shop and do it. I think one thing that's important is to have paddles at all price points. I mean, if you don't know, like an Electrum paddle, which is the PPR sponsor, I think it's to do with them, and it's $230. Yeah, $230 for one of the Electrum paddles. Now you can get a Franklin paddle that Ben Johns played with for like $100. Head makes paddles from 180 down to like 99. They have like their Margaritaville branded paddles. 60. Yeah, all the way down to 60, some of them. So you need to have a wide array, okay? I will say this, Evan Garfinkel's not here. I don't prefer Wilson paddles. He knows this, he's a good friend of mine. But to start out with, it was the best thing I could have had. When I started playing more and wanting to be more competitive, I switched. I started playing with some Electrum, some Franklin paddles, and things like that. But like right now, we're in the process of opening up accounts with Selkirk. Onyx is the ball we use on clay. We might take that one back now that we're getting real courts at our club. Selkirk, Onyx, Paddle Tech.
Gearbox? Gearbox?
No clue what that one is. No clue what that is. What's another one, Joe?
Well, so Paddle Tech, Selkirk, and Engage sell 80% of paddles
Gotcha.
in the country. Those are the three.
Those are three.
Everybody
Yeah.
else shares the rest of the paddle.
Shares the rest.
You
Yeah.
said
So
you said Paddle Tech, Selkirk, and who was the third one?
And Engage.
And Engage is who made the first Wilson paddles, and then they took everything in house sort of after that. But something that's really good about sales of paddles don't last very long. You found that?
Yeah.
They do not last long. I mean, we have people that come in after 3 months and, a little chip off the edge or something like that. I'm sure they're working on that, but it's a great thing, I mean, for us, because every 3 to 6 months they're coming in and going, hey, I think I need another paddle. Well, sure, we're happy to help you with that paddle. But yeah, Daryl, they demoed for a long time. Was there another part of your question?
No, but
For demos?
If you'll allow me, I'll answer my own question.
Please
That's
do.
an idea, because what we did had the same problem. We started charging $10 for a demo, which then went to the purchase of their paddle. Same thing, Sports Authority and all them do.
Yeah.
Which you don't have to buy a paddle if you don't want. But $10 every time. Pretty soon you bought a paddle. So
Yes.
Based on your experience, what you find out is the easiest way to teach the beginners the scoring?
During play. I mean, we just walked, but I would have them, simulate a point, and hey, what's the score? And everybody just stop for a second, and you ask just the server, and if she can't get it, you ask the next player, the next player. But I will say this: if you spend a good solid, 45 minutes having them play a point, switch how they're supposed to, play a point, switch how they're supposed to, change sides and stuff like that, you really spend about 45 minutes. It snaps in pretty quick. It really does. But I'd say it's essentially you walk through it. Telling them while they're standing still, the worst thing you could possibly do. But again, have them play because they want to play points anyway, right? So you do this, and all we do is we stand on the side and go, all right, what's the score right now? Boom, and we do it, and we try not to correct them. We see who on the court knows it. And they'll mess it up sometimes. I messed it up for 3 months when I first learned how to play. And but that's the easiest way to do it. Do it while they're playing, and just make sure they take their time between each one. And make sure the server does it, give them a chance first, and then just go from there. And it works out pretty easily. Yes.
So for a 10.
Go ahead, please.
The eyes only work in the back of my head when my kids were younger. They're older now, they don't work. For a tennis pro, we like feel, we're particular to our rackets. So what would be a good paddle to buy first without spending $200, but not the Walmart edition either? I mean, so if I wanted to feel kind of what I'm doing, I would probably enjoy it better.
Yeah.
But what price point, what type of a paddle would,
Man,
would
I'm glad
you
Daryl's
want?
here. But no, here's what I would do. I started out with the Wilson Juice paddle, and I actually think it's a pretty solid paddle, and I had good feel with that. I thought I could compete pretty good with that. The way pickleball changed, there's a lot of grit on a lot of the paddles, like grip, and people that play advanced pickleball kind of really want that to play spin and stuff like that. They have some grit on it. They call it, there was some grit.
Grit. Oh, like a sandpaper ping pong.
Yeah, there's a limit to how much they can put on that, which is study that for the
But
test.
it's like a ping pong paddle, right? Like a sandpaper ping pong paddle.
Yeah, well,
In theory, in theory.
In theory, yes. In theory, without a doubt, yes. So there's some that are different than that. But right now, like the Wilson Juice paddle, it's like 80 to 100 bucks. It was one that I played with for probably 7 or 8 months that I really, really liked. And there's one called the Echo. The Head Gravity series,
Yeah.
those are really solid paddles. That's actually been the most popular one at our club for recreational guys that don't go out and play advanced pickleball. But we have guys that are 5'0" tennis players that play with the Head Gravity series. That's been an incredible seller for us. The Head makes the Margaritaville. They have that on there. Those are solid paddles too if you just want to go out. But I would think the Wilson Juice, which is around 100 bucks, that price point. The Head Gravity series, which is sort of a lot of different price points. You could go in there. And I think you'd be totally fine. Yes.
Yeah, is there anything you've learned from the success of pickleball that you've implemented in your tennis program to grow tennis?
Not a thing. Not a thing.
Really?
To be totally honest with you. No, I mean I've been doing tennis for 22 years, and we're kind of throwing everything at the wall we can in all of tennis. And to me, it's just so unique about most things are co-ed, which we have very hard to do in tennis. So all of our events are co-ed. Half of our clinics are co-ed. I don't think we could pull that off in tennis. I think that, guys, I really have it. It's just so different. And I can't think of one thing that we've adopted. And now, I will say this. We have gained more tennis players by having a pickleball program. Okay? It's not an enormous amount. But a lot of people come out and they get used to us. They get used to the environment of being around tennis, which is obviously very important. And they're like, man, I love that environment. It's more social. It's more fun.